You're tuned to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay, and this is a program called...
Oh, it's the wonderful world of Wardini books.
Oh, sorry, I've got the wrong microphone on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
You're having a moment.
I know, a bloody day of it. Here we go again. You're listening to Radio Kidnappers, the voice of Hawke's Bay, and this is a program called...
The wonderful world of Wardini books.
Yes, it is, and it's our pleasure, as always, to have in the studio the wonderful Lou from Wardini Books in Havelock North, but you have another part of your empire, which is where?
Oh, Napier.
Yeah, that's right, in Hastings Street.
Yeah.
And tell us about that award you won recently.
Oh, so the latest one,
the latest one
that
in
we
your trophy
won,
cabinet.
Yeah, was the Pan Pac Hawke's Bay Business Awards People's Choice.
And
Isn't that cool?
That is fantastic. And that award looked magnificent.
Yeah.
Do you get to keep it forever?
I believe so. Nobody said that we can't have it forever. So
awesome. You've got lots of awards.
We've got a few now. We are talking about having a little trophy cabinet in the shop because I've got at least 2, maybe 3 Radio Kidnappers ones as well.
Which is testament to the great service that you guys give at Wardini Books, all those awards.
It's all about the holistic thing, isn't it, of all the things that we do.
You were talking on your other show that one of the prime reasons that you're in business is people.
Yeah.
You love people.
Well, what's the point?
Yes.
Otherwise,
it's not all about the money, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, as long as we've always thought, as long as we can pay our staff and pay them properly,
yes.
they're not on minimum wage. Pay them properly, pay your bills, and then if we can pay ourselves, me and Gareth, then that's great.
Yeah, got a little bit left over to keep it going.
What do you need it for? What do you need it sitting in the bank for?
Exactly. It's no good to you after you're dead, is it?
Bloody not, Ken, no.
We digress. We've got 3 more great books to have a look at today, and the first one is The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise. Sounds like a Western book.
It does, doesn't it? It could be. She travels a lot because it's a massive journey. So this is by Dan Gemeinhardt. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Indeed.
Let's say it with confidence. And it's a book for kids of probably about 9 and up. It's my favourite sort of age group because they're really starting to read fluently and starting to think and starting to explore empathy, which is something that is learned. So in this one, Coyote Sunrise is our little girl, and she's about 12. She's 12 going 13, and we meet her, and she's in the car park of a service station on one of the Great American Highways, and she and her father, Rodeo, they've got an old yellow school bus that's their home, and they travel the length and breadth of America, and they just pitch up where they like, and Rodeo's a bit of an old hippie, people kind of look at him with a bit of a side eye and go, what's going on with that bloke? But then Coyote says, then he talks to somebody and they fall in love with him instantly because he's got big, kind eyes, and they can see to his soul and know he's a good bloke even though he's got matted hair and doesn't wear a shirt.
He's got a six-pack.
I don't know. He's a scrawny. You get the impression from reading it that he's a bit of a scrawny, skinny thing. So they're on the road, and you know that there's just the 2 of them, and immediately you think, well, why? What's gone off there then? Because we're so used to having a family, a blended family or a nuclear family or whatever. So what's gone on with Coyote? And eventually you come to realise that the tragedy in the story, because there has to be,
of course,
a darkness in a story, otherwise what's the point, is that they used to be a family of a mum and a dad and three little girls. And mum and the other 2 little girls died in a car crash.
Oh, no.
So Rodeo packed up Coyote, and that's not a real name. And Rodeo's probably not his real name.
It's probably George.
And bought this bus, and now they just travel. And they're from Washington State, and they never go back to Washington State. She's got a grandmother there that she rings on other people's cell phones. She just borrows somebody's cell phone every Sunday and rings her grandmother. But they've not been back for 5 years. And the catalyst for the story, the thing that really becomes Coyote's holy grail, is that there's a park in Washington State where she used to play with her mother and her sisters, and they buried a memory box there when they didn't know they were going to have a different sort of life course. And the grandma's sort of dropped into the conversation that the park's going to be bulldozed, make way for new housing or something. And she's like, well, my memory box is there, I've got to get back there. But how's she going to get Rodeo to go back there when he refuses to go back? And it's all about the people that they meet on the journey as well, because they kind of end up picking up people who end up going on their journey with them. And what's more important, is it the people, is it the mission, what's going on in other people's lives? And she is just a remarkable character.
It actually sounds like, unlike the books you've reviewed over the last few weeks, it sounds like it might have an uplifting ending.
It's a really hopeful, beautiful book about resilience and tragedy and coming back from that, and what makes a family as well, because, by the end of the book, there are a right ragtag bunch of people who are brought together by love, and, again, we're talking a lot about kindness today, but about doing the right thing for the people. And there's a really cool connection, Ken. she right at the beginning when she's there's a couple of boys in one of the service station areas, and she goes over to see what they're doing, and they've got kittens that they're giving away. And one of Rodeo's no-goes is that they can't have pets on the bus because it's not fair to the animals because they're travelling. But she secretes this kitten onto the bus because she's lonely, really, and she wants something to love. And she calls it Ivan because her favourite book is The One and Only Ivan that you and I spoke about.
Yes, we did.
On the show a couple of weeks ago. So that's a nice synergy, isn't it?
That is a nice synergy. And I just wonder, would you be drawn back to a memory, so something in a box that was buried? Would that be powerful enough? I know from my point of view it wouldn't. I wouldn't care about it.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it would for me because I'm a bit of a don't look back sort of person. Here. But the way that this is written, this is everything to her because that's all she has left of her mother and her sisters. And Rodeo won't even mention their names. No. He can't do it because it's too sad for him. So she needs that connection.
Could be cathartic for him to go back, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about Journingham.
Journingham is a completely different book. So we're going from all over America to New Zealand at the very beginnings for Pakeha, New Zealand. So this is the formation of Wellington, really. So it's the first European settlers coming to Pitaone and started. It's like the New Zealand Company and how they just bought bits of land and the disconnect between land ownership ideas with European settlers and Maori.
Yes.
Because everybody owns the land in Maori traditions. So like, how can you sell it then? And so all these misconstruisms of what's going on. So the New Zealand Company come in and they buy up the land, and then there's a bit of an argument about who's going to build on it and all that kind of thing. So it's about Edward Journingham Wakefield, who's a historical figure. Christina Sanders has written this.
It's a non-fiction book?
No, it's a fiction. So she's fictionalised it. And Journingham Wakefield was the sort of wild son of the Wakefield family back in England, and he's shipped off to New Zealand just to get him out of the way. He's 19/20, and he's supposed to be going in and helping his uncle with the New Zealand Company, but he's a bit of a wastrel. And it's told by first person through the eyes of the bookkeeper Arthur Lugg, who is an interesting character. So he's gone to be one of the first settlers. He's lost his wife back in England, and he's a young man still, and he comes over. He's got nothing to lose, so over he comes, and he ends up being a bookkeeper for the New Zealand Company. And he's watching Journingham, and disapprovingly, they're really good friends. So he sways between, oh, he's such good fun and I'm going to go out and do this, but oh my God, what's he doing over there? He's formed a brothel. That's not cool. But Arthur needs to get down off his high horse because as the novel progresses, he's got all these moral judgments on other people, but he's not an incredibly moral person himself for one reason or the other. All got skeletons in the closet. But what this book really does is it shows you this beauty. If you can imagine Wellington that's not been corrupted by settlers, you know, Maori are living there, the way that they live, the way they work the land, and then you get boatloads of white people coming ashore, and they're like, oh, hi, you know, and then eventually it's like, how many more of you are there, you know, and you really get that sense of what a shock it would have been.
Love it. Yeah.
But also how that city, because I love Wellington, it's such a cool city, and how it was built right from the beginning with, you know, the cottages up the hills and things like that. So it's quite interesting. You know, they're all living on the beach in tents when they first arrived.
So the historical side of it is sort of accurate?
Yeah, she's done a hell of a lot of research, and it reads really naturally, and the relationships between some of the settlers and Maori are just beautiful, you know. So it's not all doom and gloom.
Who's going to read it?
Anyone that likes historic fiction, anyone who's interested in the early melding of those two cultures, Māori and then the white people just turning up on the beach, which is literally what happened, and how we came to be the New Zealand that we are today, really, and how it's gone well and how it hasn't, and how the disconnection between the two cultures as well, about how you do things and what's important to you. It's really quite interesting.
On your scale of 1 to 10, what would you give it?
Oh, she's a good 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Christina lives in Havelock North. This is a very local book.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
And our last book we're going to look at is Zen Heart. What's that all about?
Zen Heart is Mark Vetti, the dog man, the dog Zen guy. It's his memoir, his autobiography, I suppose you'd call it. And it's absolutely fascinating. So he is a Buddhist, and he came to Buddhism quite early. He was only about 17, and it wasn't necessarily in the family. It was just something he was drawn to. He was always the high achiever at school. He was the big rugby playing fella, you know, and the popular kid. And he said he's got this sense of it could have gone either way. You know, he could have become this aggressive male, but he had something else in him that saw something else in the world. And he's always had this connection with animals. So he had this German Shepherd dog when he was a kid, and just the story that he has with that, and that he could see in the dog, it was a rescue dog, and that he could train it, but there was always going to be a risk there of this dog going off. And what he learnt from that dog then informed his practice as he went on to study zoology and animal behaviour, and the Buddhist principles that he puts into training animals is quite incredible. That there's a lovely, loving, gentle way in which you can coexist with these animals. Now, he's the guy that trained the bugger dog,
yes,
as we spoke about before, and also, you know, the little pukekos in the energy adverts. They're not CGI. He trained those from chicks to do things like turn the lights on and off. You know, it's quite incredible what he's got animals to do willingly and lovingly, you know. And the animals, his philosophy is that he will go and rescue dogs to show the world how this dog that was about to be put down, like Monty, this beautiful dog I've met Monty.
Have you?
Yeah, I've met Monty. How Monty was about to be put down, but then Mark took him to show the world that you can train a dog, you can teach an old dog new tricks.
Yes, you can.
It's better if you get them as a puppy.
Yeah.
But Monty can drive a car. Reggie, his other dog, can fly a plane. You know, these dogs can do all sorts of amazing things and be the most wonderful companions. Give them a chance.
He's obviously got a heart of gold and a very soft side to him, but are the animals a business to him, or is it his genuine love of animals that he gets the best out of them? You know, because
it's both.
Because it can be, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely, it's both. Yeah, so he had a company that dealt with animals going into film. You know, so he'd train animals up for films to be stunt animals and, you know, the animal actors, and do adverts and things like that. But then he's also got his behavioural clinic, which is where he helps people. Because really it's the people that need training as opposed to the animals. He helps them to get the best out of their animals so that they're a safe thing, you know, especially dogs, because dogs can be quite vicious
absolutely,
if they're not treated properly. So how do you get the best out of your dog?
And does he give you tips in there on how to maintain some sort of zen with your pets?
Yeah, there is that in there, but this is more about him and his philosophy and his life. So there are two other dogs. There's Zen Dog, and then there's Dog Zen, and then there's Puppy Zen, which he feels really is the book that if you're going to get a dog right from little, this is how you do it, and then you're just going to have this beautiful companion. Unless it's got a neurological thing that means you can't train
Just like kids, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, too right. All right, Lou, as always, my pleasure. Just remind our listeners before you get back to work, we want to come and see you for some fabulous books because Christmas is just around the corner.
I know, and we're chock-a-block at the moment, but we won't be.
Yeah.
So come now. We are 16 Tomato Road, Havelock North, and 44 Hastings Street in Napier.
As always, my pleasure. Look after yourself. Talk to the same time, same place next week.
Cool. Thanks, Ken.